Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for January the 15th. Today we are reading together in Psalm 7. The seventh psalm is described as a prayer for justice. I would probably categorize it as being a mixed psalm again, falling in the category of a lament, but also probably being in the category of confidence based upon the the subject matter that is written here. You can tell as David is reading that he is lamenting the situation, but that he then turns around very quickly and recognizes God's authority and power as the sovereign God and his ability to judge both the wicked and the righteous and to do what is right in his judgments toward them. So let's read here in Psalm number 7. This is described as a Shiggaion of David, which he sang to Yahweh concerning the words of Cush, a Benjaminite. Now we don't know who Cush, the Benjaminite, is. It's quite possible, being that Saul was a Benjaminite, that this was a struggle that he was having against this individual. Perhaps he was an enemy of David simply because he was a descendant of Saul. And of course, the descendants of Saul weren't exactly big fans of David since David took over Saul's throne. Although really it was God who did that, but that's neither here nor there. Um, so maybe that's the issue going on here. Or I think about verses 3, 4, and 5, where David puts this hypothetical forward. If I have injustice on my hands, maybe this was somebody that David was friendly with, and he's wondering, if I have done something to wrong this individual, then that needs to be dealt with as well. We just don't know much about this man at all again, so we have to speculate to some degree. But there is just something that's going on here in this relationship between David and this man Cush that has caused David to come before God and to offer this prayer, the song and prayer of requesting for God's justice to be seen. So let's begin reading here in Psalm number 7. Psalm number 7, verse number 1. Yahweh, my God, I seek refuge in you. Save me from all my pursuers and rescue me. Or they will tear me like a lion, ripping me apart with no one to rescue me. Yahweh, my God, if I have done this, if there is injustice on my hands, if I have done harm to one at peace with me, or have plundered my adversary without cause, may my enemy pursue and overtake me. May he trample me to the ground and leave my honor in the dust. Selah. Rise up, Yahweh, in your anger. Lift yourself up against the fury of my adversaries. Awake for me. You have ordained a judgment. Let the assembly of peoples gather around you. Take your place on high over it. Yahweh judges the peoples. Vindicate me, Yahweh, according to my righteousness and my integrity. Let the evil of the wicked come to an end, but establish the righteous. The one who examines the thoughts and emotions is a righteous God. My shield is with God, who saves the upright in heart. God is a righteous judge and a God who shows his wrath every day. If anyone does not repent, referencing Yahweh here, he will sharpen his sword. He has strung his bow and made it ready. He has prepared his deadly weapons. He tips his arrows with fire. See, the wicked one is pregnant with evil, conceives trouble and gives birth to deceit. He dug a pit and hollowed it out, but fell into the hole he had made. His trouble comes back on his own head. His own violence comes down on top of his head. I will thank Yahweh for his righteousness. I will sing about the name of Yahweh Most High. And that is the reading of the seventh psalm. Again, the man supplied the non-inspired subheading, a prayer for justice. And again, this is centering around some sort of situation involving a Benjaminite named Cush. David begins this psalm by establishing the relationship that he has with Yahweh. He refers to him as Yahweh, my God. Establishing strong relationship here. Because of this relationship, he feels the ability to seek refuge in Yahweh. having confidence that Yahweh will save him, that Yahweh will rescue him. And really, he is turning to Yahweh because he recognizes there is nowhere else to go. Because if you don't save me, this is kind of the understanding of verses 1 and 2. If you don't save me, if you don't rescue me, then well, they're just going to tear me apart like a lion. They're going to rip me apart, and no one's going to save me. It's either you save me, Yahweh, or no one saves me. David is doing something that many people would say it's not very wise to do. Many people would say, don't put all your eggs in a single basket. But that's exactly what David is doing here. David is putting all of his confidence, all of his the possibility of his survival. He's pushing that in completely into God's lap, saying this is something only you can do. I have nowhere else to turn but you. But here's what he recognizes though. He puts forth this hypothetical. If I am someone who has done this, if I've been unjust, if I've done harm to someone that I've been at peace with, if I've plundered without cause, then you know what? I'm coming to you because I recognize you are just, and that's going to be a main theme throughout the rest of this psalm, justice. Because you are just, if I am guilty, then you know what? If I need to be punished, if my enemy needs to pursue me and overtake me and trample me and leave my honor in the dust, then so be it, because that's what justice demands. David recognizes that. David recognizes that justice cuts both ways. That yes, you might call for justice against others whenever they are guilty, but David recognized if he himself was guilty, he deserved God's justice in the same way. But again, that's just a hypothetical. I don't believe David actually thinks that's what's going on here. So he turns to Yahweh, rise up, Yahweh, in your anger, and lift yourself up against the fury of my adversaries. Awake for me. You have ordained a judgment. I want to note here from verses 6 to 11, this section here, it has an inclusio of God's anger and wrath. God's anger and wrath. It begins with anger. It ends with a reference to his wrath. And this is definitely tied into the subject of God's justice, because God's holy nature, when coupled or when, okay, so this equation, you have God's justice plus the reality of sin is going to equal wrath, and it's going to equal punishment, because a holy God cannot condone sin in any way, and he will hold it accountable. So that's the principle that David is working on here, is that because God is holy and because God is just, and later on in verse number 17, because he's righteous, I have confidence, from David's perspective, I have confidence that he will judge those who are my adversaries and who are wrong in this situation. So let's hold court. Let the assembly of your peoples gather together. Let them gather in this context of a court. You sit up on your seat as the judge, high over top of all this, and in doing so, as you judge, which is your right, Yahweh, I have confidence that you will vindicate me, and that you will vindicate me according to my righteousness and my integrity. Now, someone might say, well, that's kind of pretentious on David's part. It's kind of um, a bit of a holier than thou type of attitude. How dare you say that because you've been so righteous and full of integrity that you're going to be spared? But I don't think that's David's mindset at all. I think David more so is coming at this from the perspective of, because of my faithfulness to you, I have pursued righteousness and integrity. And because I have pursued the things that you desire for me to pursue, I have this confidence that you will honor that, and that you will be faithful to that, and that you will vindicate me in this situation. Again, going back to verses 3 through 5, I don't think David is saying that he has done this. He's just recognizing that, if that's the case, then God, you have every right to judge me just as I'm asking you to judge other people. But from David's perspective, he has done what is right. Again, not out of a self-righteous attitude, but in faithfulness to God, in submission to God, he has pursued righteousness and integrity. So therefore, again, knowing that God is just, let the evil come to an end. That's one half of God's justice. But there's also the way he behaves towards the righteous, which is to establish them, because God is able to determine which camp someone falls into. It is Yahweh who examines the thoughts and emotions. You are a righteous God. You're a righteous judge. He says that explicitly in verse number 11. And because of God's ability to know the heart, he makes this judgment properly. He always makes the proper judgment. We can't do that. We make mistakes sometimes. All we are able to do whenever it comes to others is judge what we can tangibly see and observe and experience. We can only judge in that manner. But God, he sees what is deeper than surface level. He sees into the heart. So someone might look extremely holy. Someone might look like they are pursuing a holy life, but their heart, just like the Pharisees, while they might look great on the outside and inside, they're full of dead bones. Their heart is rotten and wicked. God sees that, and God will make that righteous judgment. So he will again uphold the righteous, but he will show his wrath every day to those who are unrighteous. If they don't repent, if anyone does not repent, God will sharpen the sword, string the bow, prepare his deadly weapons. He's even going to tip his arrows with fire. He is going to bring judgment on them. Those who are wicked. Who are they? Well, they are those who are pregnant with evil. They conceive trouble. They give birth to deceit. They are people that are constantly um, uh, planting seeds. Again, going on with this pregnant analogy, planting seeds of wickedness. They are going to foster that wickedness. They're going to continue to pursue wickedness. Everything that comes forth from them is that which is evil. But here's the thing, those evil people are not going to prosper before God, for these evil plans that they have made, well, they're going to fall back on their own head. His trouble comes back on his own head. His own violence comes down on top of his head. Reminds me of, I believe, in Proverbs chapter 1 talks about that. Those who are constantly doing things that are evil, they dig a big hole. Well, they're going to fall into it. They cast a net. Well, they're going to get caught up in it themselves. That is the end of those who are evil. Again, David does not see himself in that group. No, he sees himself in the group of those that are righteous and full of integrity because that's been his pursuit. So in this situation where here is David trying to do what is right, and then suffering at the hands of someone who's doing what is wrong, he calls on a holy and just God to make a judgment, to uphold those who are doing right and to punish those who are doing good. Therefore, he has again this very confident statement, I will thank Yahweh for his righteousness. Again, righteousness is so closely connected to God's justice. So closely connected. You cannot separate God's righteousness from his justice. Because he is righteous, he will uphold those who are good. And because he is righteous, he will punish those who are evil. So David says that I will sing about the name of Yahweh Most High. I will sing about the just God. Do we sing about the just God? I tell you, we look all around us and we see so much injustice, so many wicked people seemingly doing whatever they want to without any recourse, without anybody being able to stand up against them. I mean, we just look at every day in the news. There's something else taking place. We look especially, and unfortunately, in our country and in other countries, governments that are corrupt. We think, oh, there's nothing that's ever gonna happen to them. They're just gonna get away with everything. That's just not the case. Again, God is a just God, and whatever might happen in this life, in the end, there will be court held by Yahweh, the just God. The righteous will be uplifted, they will be upheld, but the wicked are going to be struck down and punished. So, which group are we going to fall in? Are we able to stand before God with confidence in our character because of our pursuit of faithfulness to Him? Again, it's not about us pursuing what we think is right and doing it because we think it's the right thing to do or doing it on our own strength. No, we pursue righteousness and integrity because that's what God desires of us. Again, if we're going to be image bearers of God, then we have to reflect who He is, and He is righteous. He is full of integrity. So we are simply striving to be what He desires for us to be. Is that who we are? Or are we pursuing evil, wicked motives? Are we living according to our wisdom? If so, we need to know that God will bring that to account in the last day when the great trial is held. May God help us to pursue righteousness. May He help us to pursue integrity. And in doing so, may we thank Him for who He is, knowing that He will take care of all things in the end. And may we, like David, sing about the name of Yahweh Most High. you have any questions or comments about this psalm here in Psalm number 7, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I appreciate you taking some time to read along with me on this Monday. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday. May God bless you in all that you do, and hope you'll tune back in again on Wednesday as we read together in Psalm number 8. I really, really love Psalm number 8. It's beautiful. It's truly beautiful, and I think there'll be some great thoughts for us to consider as we read through that together. Take care, and God bless.